the slideshow?
Yeah, we can see it.
On the other side, yeah? Okay, brilliant. Give me a second. I'm just going to get my slides up on my other computer because otherwise I can't see my speaking notes. And this should be those. Okay. Presenters view, that's the one I need. Okay, brilliant. So yesterday we, just to recap, we talked about, DAOs as organizations with lots of stakeholders all contributing to governance, which is usually instructing smart contracts to do automated actions for lots of different types of organizations. We covered some of the common features of a DAO. So just to get this back into your memories, those are listed here. Decentralized governance, smart contracts, token-based voting or one member, one vote. Some DAOs have transparency. I prefer DAOs with privacy. That's personal opinion. Autonomy, they're global and inclusive. They're flexible and modular. They have community funding mechanisms for grants and proposals, all sorts of different stuff. They're resistant to censorship, and they are spaces for innovation and experimentation. Okay, so that's the kind of stuff that we covered and left off at yesterday. Today, I want to start with some of the riskier elements of DAOs. Okay, so this is a very, very new area of humans and automated systems organizing themselves to create companies and create funds and all this kind of stuff. So with that comes a lot of risk with these new frontiers. Okay, as DAOs are pushing the boundaries of traditional organizational structures, they're also encountering quite unique legal and regulatory challenges, and this is a big area that ourselves at GOV.DAO tackle. Okay, and help these projects. We actually often join other DAOs and sit on DAOs as in DAO legal and regulatory support, because these issues are so complex and so time consuming for a lot of people who don't have experience in this area, that we like to join and be a part of the DAO, and happy to do this with GOV.DAO as well, Dasher, actually, and give our knowledge to that organization. Okay, so DAOs in lots of jurisdictions often exist in a legal grey area with varying levels of recognition and regulation across the jurisdiction. So jurisdiction is it could be a country, it could be a state. In the US, every state is a different jurisdiction. It could be like a city state, like the City of London, for example. These are different jurisdictions. Okay, understanding the legal status of DAOs in the relevant jurisdictions is absolutely crucial for the operational compliance and the risk management of the organization. Okay, so lots of organizations say that they are DAOs and set up DAOs. Brilliant. Okay, if DAOs do not have a legal entity, potentially and let's say it's an investment fund, for example, and there are lots of these set up like this with no legal entity. Potentially, if this DAO gets in trouble in a jurisdiction, they could be taken to court, and actually every member of the DAO could be held personally liable for the actions, because there's no limited liability. When you set up a company, you have limited liability. If you're unincorporated, you have unlimited liability on the members of the company. Okay, often. Okay. So exploring legal wrappers or incorporation as a cooperative, an LLC, a non-profit, all this kind of stuff, or other recognized entity in a jurisdiction can mitigate those risks. Okay. The regulatory landscape for DAOs is very, very complex. You're talking about security laws, anti-money laundering regulations, tax obligations, tailoring the operations and building your governance framework to comply with the relevant laws that affect your organization is essential for the sustainability of the project. If a Web3 project gets, accused by the SEC of selling unregulated securities, it can be just as damaging for their reputation as a smart contract hack or an exploit. Okay, so it's if they don't bear these issues in mind, these risks in mind, they get the product launched, and this it's potentially as damaging as all the funds being hacked. If something goes wrong in this area, okay. And then to top that off as well, we've got these massive technological risks with the new tech that we're using. Okay, so on-chain hacks happen every day, and reputationally, these are very difficult to recover from. Although we'll look in a second at a project that's done it very, very well. Okay, so just going back to like legal entities. Okay, so people often struggle to figure out where they should set up their DAO, and for myself and the rest of the team at Secret Agency, we chose the Marshall Islands. Because the Marshall Islands has DAOs as a recognized company structure. So the company is Secret Agency DAO LLC. Okay, so it's a limited liability company. That's a DAO. Our operating agreement has distributed governance and all these other features in the operating agreement of the company. It's outside the US jurisdiction. This wasn't really a big one for us because we didn't issue a token, but for some teams it is. There's no trustees or directors. Okay, so you don't have company directors. You have members and managing members in the Marshall Islands. They have an option for a non-profit. It was quite low cost for us. I think you can get one of these set up for $3,000 now. Actually, 3,000, and they're not on blacklists now. Actually, I've just noticed on this comparison that this has just changed. So actually, let's put a tick here because that kind of fits. Because Wyoming in the US has just got a non-profit option. So here you can see some comparisons of different jurisdictions. Delaware is quite popular in the USA. This is a state. Wyoming is another state. They're very popular. Swiss Foundation is here. Obviously, that's a foundation. It's not a DAO LLC. Cayman BVI Foundation, Panama Foundation, some of the options that people choose. So MeDAO is actually the incorporation agent in the Marshall Islands. We have a partnership with them, and we forward clients onto them all the time to set up DAOs over the Marshall Islands, just because it ticks all of these boxes. Okay, so that might work for your project, it might not, but it's quite a good little infographic. Okay, so your tech security risks, then these governance and treasury exploits happen almost on a daily basis. If anyone's ever been to this website, rect.news, it has a leaderboard of all the biggest hacks in the space. Smart contract information, administrator keys, contracts, Web2 integrations are all attack surfaces that hackers target, and also you've got social engineering and phishing as well. I would argue that every DAO benefits from having privacy tooling baked into it to lower the attack surface. We're going to cover that a little bit more in Friday's class, which is all about Web3 privacy and some of the solutions available there. So just an example of a project that's really dealt with this quite well. If I can find the Serenity Shield. So Serenity Shield had a bridge hack last week. No, it wasn't. It was 2 weeks ago now. And they actually released, I must have it in my Telegram. Sorry, bear with me a second, guys. I'll just find this file for you. Should have opened it before that's an OTC deck. Here we go. Yeah, so this project had a liquidity wallet hacked that was providing liquidity on DEXs. I hope you can all see the screen. Yes, you can. Yeah, so a devastating experience. Basically, this is a project that focuses on data security, and they have this product called Strongbox, which locks. It's like an inheritance solution when your next of kin, when you pass away, your assets, your crypto assets, are passed on to your next of kin. So obviously their reputation is all about trustworthiness and security, shield, this kind of thing. They had a liquidity wallet hacked, nothing related to their product. It was the DEX liquidity, and they did, in my opinion, one of the best post-mortems and making all of their investors whole that I've seen in the space. Okay, so this came out immediately. They were hacked by the same hackers from the OKX hack in December. Okay, so OKX hackers are still attacking projects that they got via that social engineering attack. I believe one of their team was followed for 6 months online. So they, they did an investigation. This is all public. They released this document to their community, and then they They managed to halt the trading of the token that was hacked. So all the liquidity that was hacked, halted that. They issued a new smart contract. They airdropped it, got it audited. Sorry. Airdropped that to all of the previous holders in a timestamp before the hack, so everyone was made whole in terms of token amount. They then airdropped all of their staking pools and all of their vesting, people that are investing contracts, all this kind of stuff. And they redistributed the token to all the exchanges and had them all relist. So the price action, basically, instead of having this massive dip down to like virtually nothing because of this liquidity hack, just maintained its value. Okay, like kind of like the line in this document. So that for me was a really good way to get the reputation back to the community after a tech security incident. It's kind of an aside, but I thought it was useful for anyone that's dealing with those situations, and hopefully in the past, hopefully not in the future. What about the human element of DAOs then? Okay, so the biggest resource that a DAO has is its members, its contributors. But during bear markets and this kind of thing, people lose the passion over time, and it's in an effective DAO, in any effective business, you need people with varied skill sets. So you need front-end developers, back-end developers, marketeers, business development people like me, people who can educate and do lessons like this about the products and about the concepts that you're trying to address. Okay. It's if you have lots of members at the start and then people leave over time, your governance is going to become a bit centralized, because either people are not voting, they're apathetic, or they are just kind of doing it to get the money or something like that. Yeah, so apathy is one of the biggest issues, I think, in terms of like how do you incentivize people to give the same passion that they gave on the first day they came into your project? How do you incentivize them to give that same amount of passion throughout 2 years, 5 years down the line? Because you want to retain the staff that you've got, right, in any organization. If you're training people, if you're making brilliant products for people, you want to keep that talent. So actually a big part of our products that we're building at the moment, and right now we're working on tokenomics of this, is awarding people who contribute to DAOs experience points that the DAO can vote on which work is worth which token, and then they can swap that in for real tokens, either in our project GOV.DAO or in the DAO's independent DAO's own token as well. So it's like a triple incentive scheme essentially for DAO contributors. It's really hard to keep people motivated over time in DAOs, and the drop off is something that we need to address. Security. So this is another human element. People's security, especially in the developing world. If people, we had a horrible experience where one of our contributors, someone at his university, told the local police, this is in the developing country, that he had crypto and he worked for an organization that worked in he got paid in crypto and all this kind of stuff. And they went and turned over his house, trashed his house, and beat him up and all this stuff. It was a horrible experience. We had to kind of club together and get him out of that situation. But yeah, the DAO being able to maintain their contributors' anonymity and security is very important. Okay. And also, when you're dealing with blockchains that have new programming languages, or it's quite novel technology, there's often a lot of complexity to running a DAO. So if the blockchain doesn't have multi-sig support, multi-send tooling, privacy features, batch payment, batch transactions, this kind of thing, it can add a real layer of complexity when you start to have 30 contributors, 50 contributors, 100 people. The person that's got to send all of those payrolls transactions one by one is going to be pulling their hair out at the end of that day. Trust me, I've been in that seat for over a year. So when you're forming your DAO, a few things to consider. Jurisdictions. You should choose wisely, because mistakes are very expensive later on. It costs quite a bit to set up these DAO LLCs. For example, in the United Arab Emirates, they've got a new DAO framework, but it's about 100, 200K. So a lot of projects don't have that initially, just to spend on company formation. Whereas Marshall Islands is about 3K, something like that, if you don't have much runway. So this is one of the things that we help with, and if anyone does need advice on which jurisdiction to choose, then please drop me a DM. Governance. So your governance framework, your operating agreement, whatever you want to call it, you have to workshop every scenario that could happen to your DAO. So what happens if somebody dies? What happens if somebody leaves? What happens if a whole business vertical team, a whole sub-DAO decides to close up the shop? You need to have mechanisms in the governance framework to be able to deal with those situations, so that it's not going to take down your entire organization when something like that happens. When someone goes on holiday and doesn't have their hardware wallet with them to sign a transaction, you need to have mechanisms in place to alleviate all of these situations. And for us at Secret Agency DAO, even though we were a non-profit kind of small operation, we spent 6 months workshopping these different situations, and I'm very glad that we did that, because it was helpful when those situations did arise, when we were actually running the project. Privacy. Obviously, I'm a massive privacy head. I think it's lacking in so many products in Web3, but you should build with privacy from the beginning. We'll talk about that more on Friday. And kind of the method that we use at GOV.DAO is to deep dive into each project that we work with. We become contributors. So, for example, like right now, I'm teaching here. I'm putting job briefings into the jobs chat. I'd love to become more a part of GOV.DAO as we go on. And if GOV.DAO needs any legal and regulatory support, we're always here. Okay. And sometimes we take positions as well in projects that we believe are going to be quite successful. Oops, did I skip a little bit? Okay, so let's have a look at some toolkits then. So this is just a couple of examples of ready-to-go solutions for setting up DAOs. The DAO is in the Cosmos ecosystem. Aragon is in Ethereum. You might know these projects. They're quite famous in the DAO space. These are one-size-fits-all solutions to setting up a DAO. So a lot of business, they're useful for like kind of smaller enterprises, I think. But when you have a complex organization that has a lot of moving parts and different funds and different interests all over the world, you need a bespoke solution. So, but these guys are quick. Their governance, sorry, that's actually from the other side. They have governance frameworks ready to go, very simple ones. The main thing that they have is this DAO community, so you can network with other DAOs, social networking. Okay. Whereas our approach is to speak to each project that we work with and get an idea of what bespoke solution they would need. Okay, so whether it's private documents, voting, treasury management, sub-DAO, sub-DAO formation, this kind of thing. If they've got like exotic tokenomics plans where there's vesting schedules and dual tokens and all sorts of different incentive schemes, these can be counted into governance. So, for example, like a VC fund that's a partner with your project early and got tokens investing can participate in governance. That's something that's lacking in a lot of DAO toolings out there at the moment. Obviously, you've got GOV.DAO legal advisory inside the DAO, so that's brilliant for people who aren't, don't have a law degree. NFT gated access roles as well, including admin, super admin. We've actually just added a payee role as well, so people that the finance department basically of the DAO can have payments in, payments out, and everything can be exported for tax compliance, this kind of thing. Again, sub-DAO support for different verticals or regions. We can white label our platform, so it's got your organization's color scheme and font and logos all over it, and it's ready for your community. And it also is developed to be able to plug into these ready-to-go solutions like Aragon and DAO, so you can social network with other DAOs. But then you've got all of these privacy feature sets, your tokenomics is supported, all this other stuff is within GOV.DAO. Okay, so we kind of DAO tooling company. Yeah, and actually we talked yesterday, and as soon as I finished the call, I had to go onto Twitter Spaces and announce that our testnet was open. So with great pleasure, I can actually invite you all to come and test the product as well, and I'll give you a little brief demonstration. Maybe before we get stuck into that, does anyone have any questions related to the last half of the workshop? So yeah. I'm going to check the chat.
I'm not sure if this question is related, but which are like the best channels to attract community to your DAO?
In terms of like mass outreach to attract people. So, I mean, are you talking from GOV.DAO? You'd probably be looking for developers, wouldn't you? I really like, there's a solution called Bonus Block, right? And this is so there's lots of different community engagement platforms, Zeely, Galaxy, Opera Event we used at Secret Agency. These all basically cover social actions, okay? Which is great. Everyone needs, social media is important, marketing is important. But what Bonus Block have built, I can show you this as well, actually, is a platform that does all of that social stuff, but at the same time, it evaluates users' quality based on the interactions that they're making on chain. Okay, so people that are engaging with the product that these companies are trying to do. So I would recommend this to anyone, and in fact,
a complete version available exclusively online to the members of GOV.DAO.